Today, we're digging into a plan that sounds like it was ripped straight from the pages of a sci-fi novel. But what if it wasn't? We're talking about a proposal to build a literal celestial kingdom, a giant ring of 144,000 artificial habitats, all in orbit around the sun.
So right off the bat, the project's own white paper gives a little wink to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is honestly the perfect way to start. This whole thing is about taking a wild, almost satirical idea, custom making entire planets, and actually asking, wait a minute, could we engineer this for real?
But this isn't just about nuts and bolts and rocket science. The source material frames this entire project as being driven by a divine mandate, one that was supposedly announced on August 12, 2025. This is where faith meets fusion reactors. And that leads us to this very specific number, 144,000. This was not picked at random. It's the exact target for the number of orbital habitats they want to have built by the year 2125. It's a number that's deeply rooted in Scripture, now being reimagined as an engineering goal.
So where does this call to action come from? According to the source material, it's presented as a modern-day revelation to Russell M. Nelson, the president of the LDS Church. This mission to build worlds without number is seen as a direct fulfillment of core Latter-day Saint beliefs about humanity's eternal progression and our destiny out there in the cosmos.
Okay, so what's the official name for this massive undertaking? They're calling it the 1AU Moored Moons. The vision is to create a solar belt, a massive ring of habitats sharing Earth's orbit. And these aren't just space apartments. They're meant to be research stations, industrial hubs, and really the key stepping stones for us to explore the rest of the solar system. The scale of the architecture here is just staggering. I mean, we're talking about an orbital path that's almost 1 billion kilometers long. The plan starts by anchoring the first few habitats in these gravitationally stable sweet spots, called Lagrange points. Then, to keep the entire ring perfectly stable and stop it from getting pulled around by planets like Jupiter, a super smart AI would constantly manage a whole network of ion thrusters and solar sails. So how on earth would you build something this big? The plan relies entirely on automation. First, robotic swarms go out and mine asteroids for the raw materials. Then, and this is where it gets really sci-fi, these robots use those materials to build more robots. It's a concept called self-replication, creating a workforce that grows exponentially. From there, they 3D print all the necessary parts and assemble them into huge, spinning habitats called Bernal spheres. Now, you can't power a celestial civilization with solar panels alone. You need a revolutionary energy source. The proposed answer is something called aneutronic fusion. Unlike a lot of fusion concepts you might have heard of, this type produces very little dangerous neutron radiation. That makes it way, way safer and cleaner, which is pretty critical when you're talking about self-contained worlds where millions of people are supposed to live.
But there's a catch. Of course there's a catch. The key fuel for this type of fusion, an isotope called helium-3, is incredibly rare here on Earth. So if you're going to build an entire economy in space based on this fuel, you've got to get it from somewhere else. The question is, where?
The plan's answer is just as breathtaking as everything else. You send fleets of automated, monolith-like factories to the gas giant Jupiter, and you just harvest the helium-3 directly from its upper atmosphere. Jupiter essentially becomes the cosmic gas station for this entire solar system-spanning civilization. And this next part just perfectly illustrates that blend of high-tech and high theology. The entire unimaginably complex operation, from the asteroid mining to the fuel runs to Jupiter, would all be coordinated by a single, incredibly powerful AI. And its name? Moroni, named after the angelic messenger who is central to the founding of the LDS faith. This AI, Moroni, which the documents say is powered by xAI's Grok platform, would act as the central nervous system for everything. It designs the habitats, commands the robotic construction crews, manages the logistics of a multi-planetary supply chain, and even coordinates the population. And that includes a built-in ethical framework to make sure its actions always align with the project's founding spiritual values. That population management gets even more futuristic. The plan sees a hybrid society made up of humans, AIs, and something it calls uploaded consciousnesses. Yeah, we're talking about digitized human minds, transferred to servers. These entities could exist in space, contribute all their expertise, and help run the habitats without needing food, water, or even air, making them the ideal pioneers for deep space. This idea of monoliths going to Jupiter might ring a bell for sci-fi fans. It's got a famous parallel in Arthur C. Clarke's Space Odyssey series, where the monoliths ignite Jupiter into a new sun called Lucifer. But this plan takes a different, more sustainable route. Instead of transforming Jupiter, it harvests its resources, turning the planet into the fuel pump for what it calls a Lucifer economy, an economy of distributed, fusion-powered mini-suns, lighting up habitats all across the solar system.
Now, something this big obviously can't be done alone. It's envisioned as a public-private prophetic partnership. Each major player gets something huge out of it. The U.S. Space Force gets an unbelievable surveillance network and a staging ground for the outer planets. Commercial partners like SpaceX get whole new frontiers for mining and tourism. And for the LDS Church, it's the literal fulfillment of prophecy and a monumental investment.
So what's the timeline? Well, this is a century-long marathon, not a sprint. The roadmap lays out key milestones. They want prototypes launched by the late 2020s, the first big robot factory sent out in 2035, and then the real scaling begins, an exponential push to hit that full 144,000 habitats by the year 2125.
So in the end, the whole 1AU moored moons proposal leaves us with a pretty provocative question. Is this a real blueprint for humanity's multi-planetary future, a new kind of utopia out among the stars, or is it simply the most ambitious, technologically advanced, faith-based project ever conceived? The wild thing is, the answer seems to be that it's aiming to be both.